Leading the movement of people pretending to give a damn about working folks is Josh Hawley, and he doesn't reckon that pregnant folks ought to be able to have access to water.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
One of the many things in the omnibus bill was the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act and the Pump Act. Both of these support pregnant workers in different ways, and they actually passed along bipartisan lines, amazingly. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act passed 73-24 in the Senate, and the Pump Act passed 92-5 in the Senate. So that's pretty wild. So I just want to make sure that folks understand that for these bills that were all put into the omnibus, there's like two votes on them, right? There's the vote to actually put it in the omnibus, or like to vote to show your support for the bill itself, like on its own terms. And that's what these votes are for. And so then after it gets put into the omnibus, after you've shown your support or a rejection for the bill on its own terms, then it does or does not get put into the big omnibus bill, which then you take a vote on that as a whole, right? And so these are the votes on the bills on their own merits, not attached to anything else. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act passed the Senate 73-24. The Pump Act passed 92-5. What they do is the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act requires that employers provide pregnant workers with reasonable accommodations, such as access to water, increased bathroom breaks, and restrictions on lifting heavy objects. The Pump Act expands legally protected breaks for workers who are nursing babies. So these are very good things. They seem to me to be common sense. They seem to me like they would particularly be common sense for a party that says it's pro-life or that says it is concerned with the health and well-being of mothers, that's concerned with families, that's concerned with, that's telling women that they cannot have an abortion, that they are forced to give birth. So it seems like if you're going to force somebody to give birth, you should at least protect them while they're at work, because people got to work. Most people got to work, even if you're pregnant, even if you're a mother. So seems to me like that would be something that the Republican Party would support. Amazingly, actually, both of Alabama's senators voted for both of these two bills, which is
wow,
that's wild. Richard Shelby, not known for being a populist, right? Richard Shelby, his career in the Senate is now over. He is not known for being a populist. That is not the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear Richard Shelby, and yet he voted for protections for pregnant workers, as did Tommy Tupperville, and he's kind of walking that line. I'm not sure, I don't think he's really decided if he wants to associate more with the business Republicans or these business Republicans who are pretending to be working class Republicans, right?
He's also probably not very sure what the word populism means, and so
that's
may need to
one
get
of the
back
reasons,
with you on that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons that he's taking a while to figure out where he's going. But you know who did not vote for both of these bills? Populist working class Republican Josh Hawley, which is wild. He voted for the Pump Act, but he did not vote for the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. What does that do again? What does that do? Oh, it requires employers to provide pregnant workers with access to water, increased bathroom breaks, and restrictions on lifting heavy objects. So he voted against that, which means that presumably he doesn't reckon pregnant workers ought to have access to water. That their bosses ought to be able to force them to lift heavy things, and that they shouldn't be able to take bathroom breaks, which is probably super healthy for the baby, I'm sure.
What a jackass.
A few weeks ago, The Hill said that Josh Hawley had emerged as a, quote, champion of GOP populism amid Trump's decline. A couple of weeks ago, separately, Cruz had said that, quote, I think one of the most consequential political shifts of the last decade is that Republicans have become, not are becoming, they have become a blue-collar party. We are the party of working class men and women, says Ted Cruz. We are the party of truck drivers and steelworkers, says Ted Cruz, Harvard-educated fancy boy. And we're the party of railroad union workers, says Ted Cruz. This really just shows you the idea. And every single one of these people, not a single Democrat voted against the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act or the Pump Act. Every single Democrat in the Senate voted for it. The only people that voted against it were Republicans. And yet they're the party of the working class.
If they say it enough, maybe some folks will believe it.
That's just bonkers. And this is not to say, obviously, I think, if you listen to the show long enough, you're going to understand that we're not telling you, like, be gung-ho about the Democrats and spend every weekend knocking on doors for them, right? That's not what we recommend you do. We, in fact, recommend you do not do that and spend your time doing something more fruitful, like...
Which, in this case, would be almost anything else.
Almost anything, yeah, like organizing a union or taking a nap,
Self-care, yeah.
Self-care, yeah. These are things that you could do that would be more helpful for the world than, knocking on doors for most Democrats. But we also particularly do not want people to fall for this scam about Republicans being the party of the working class.
Right.
Because one of the people leading this movement in the Republican Party, leading the movement of people pretending to give a damn about working folks, is Josh Hawley. And he doesn't reckon that pregnant folks ought to be able to have access to water at work. Like, what else do you say? That's bonkers. I don't know if you've got anything else on that, Adam, but I can't think of anything else to say other than that's crazy.
No, I mean, I just will echo what you said about that. I mean, the Republicans are doing this posturing about blue collar and working class voters. And of course, we could always add in parentheses white, right? Because obviously they're not too interested in appealing to non-white working class voters. And if you're not sure about that, pay attention to literally anything they say.
Yeah.
Or the way they present themselves. But even beyond that, part of what's so insidious about it is the entire premise is class as like a cultural affect and identity, and not actually a relationship to the economy and production. And that's where it gets very, very frustrating, and I think mystifying for people. And you walk away from watching Fox News and MSNBC and working class or blue collar, it's almost like a cultural brand, or, it's like what kind of truck you drive and what do you wear, flannel shirts and that kind of thing, as opposed to, okay, do you work for somebody or does someone work for you?
Yeah.
Where do you sit in this economy? Are you a wage earner, or do you live off profits and rents and dividends and interest?
Yeah.
And so that's not what they're discussing when they're talking about class. They have tried to shoehorn working class into being a synonym for cultural conservatism.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, yeah, we're real blue collar because, we also go to church and we also don't like those queers and weirdos coming out of the woodwork. Yep. Never mind that I'm the boss and that I own this company, but I'm very blue collar because I wear flannel and I drive a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, a $50,000 pickup truck. Yeah. That just has always irritated me, and I've always seen that a lot here in the South, like intersecting with the redneck identity too. You have those like fake rednecks who, they're are trying to portray themselves as these country redneck folks in their $50,000 truck and several $100 outfit. Yeah, it's just, to me, that's what it reminds me of. Right. It reminds me of the rich suburban kids that were play acting as rednecks, and they're doing the same kind of stuff here.
Yeah. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.